Hello there and welcome to Nova Scotia. Gonna do a full garden tour today. Today is July 25th. I'm near Dartmouth, Nova Scotia. So I believe we're 6B is our zone. I don't really find that makes much of a difference, but our last frost is usually the first week of June. And then our first week lately has been around the first week of October. So here we are on July 25th. Things are filling in. Things are looking pretty good. We've had some failures, but a lot of successes this year as well. Okay, I'll take you through and give you a full tour. So this is our entry, just an old top of a pergola that I cut down. Added some hinges up there. And I planted Taiwanese long beans, and these have barely grown. That's probably my best one. So I think it is just not hot enough in Nova Scotia for them. But whatever, I did an experiment, it just didn't work out for me. But these grape cuttings I took, this one's doing a little bit better even, are looking great. And then I found one that I lost, so I just threw it in there. I should throw some water on it, I suppose. So hopefully by next year, those will start crawling up. Grapes grow really well here, I find. So I should have no problem getting those to cover this trellis by next year. I'll show you just the front edge here. Last year I had one big hosta and I split it up and put it all along the edge here. These are filling in very nicely. They're just coming into bloom. And this way I can just mow in front and it takes some of the weed pressure off of the garden. So just in the very front here, have some oregano here. This is my flower garden, just right here by the driveway. So some things were started from seed this year, so they're not really, that's an echinacea back there. I just started from seed this year. Sage as well. There's a calendula back there that's self-seeded. We have some parsley, more calendula, chamomile. I've been harvesting these every few days and just getting a pile so I can have some for tea in the winter time. Sunflower is, I'm going to say about 3.5. A little chicken fight back there. 3.5 feet tall. This is a new nasturtium I got this year. It's supposed to be white and black. I guess this is a white one. It's more like a creamy, very pale yellow. Beautiful. More calendula. In the back I have some hollyhocks that I started this year from seed. My hollyhocks just never seem to come back year after year, so I just always plant new ones. Those will probably be blooming in a couple weeks. More nasturtiums. This is a dwarf sunflower, so it is about as tall as it's going to get. I'd say it's going to bloom very soon. This is another one. I have cosmos. I only planted one cosmos, but I had some self-seeders as well. Beautiful color on this one blooming here. And then these are echinacea plants. These are now 3 years old. So as you can see, they're much larger than the 1 year. And they're just getting their blooms on them. These ones over here are opening up. Nice pop of color. And some chamomile in front, more calendula. And I have one sunflower back here that is struggling. I think it has too much competition with that echinacea there. But it was planted at the same time as the other one, and it is only not even 3 feet tall. And then I have some silver mound here. This is from my nanny's house. Every year it gets bigger. I'm just letting it do its thing. I actually put some of these in bouquets. It's a beautiful little addition to a bouquet. And then over here, I've started some things for fall gardening. So I have some cabbages started in here. And then I potted up some of my perennials that didn't sell at my sale in the spring. And I'm going to try to sell them as 2-year-old starts. These really need to be potted up, but they're sage, thyme, mint, and more echinacea. And then over here, I started beets and carrots. So my garlic is still in the ground right now, but it'll probably be coming out in a week or two. And I want to get a head start on these to see if I can get them to be any size before frost comes. So I'm doing plugs for carrots and beets. Not something I normally do, but just to give myself a little extra head start on the fall garden. So I started coming through and weeding through here. This is my strawberry patch. This is 2 rows, but they've kind of formed into one. I haven't finished weeding, but we're getting there. So up here, there are strawberries in here, but then I had dill, calendula, and cilantro growing here last year. And so I have a lot of self-seeded stuff. Oh, I also had parsley. So there's parsley all down in there. So I did try to come through and weed a little bit, but I'm kind of just letting them do this thing. This is a leek, a second year leek, and it is now being pollinated by all these lovely guys. So I like to have fresh leek seeds. I find they work better if they are, even a 1-year-old leek seed I find has bad germination. So I like to overwinter a few leeks every year just to keep myself in a fresh supply. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 leeks here. This one's the most open, but they're just opening up. So this is all strawberries. Our strawberries are done for the season, but we got tons of strawberries out of here. Lots to freeze, lots to eat. We made lots of jam. This is chives that I cut back to hopefully get a second harvest. And I could actually harvest those right now. I might come out after I do this video and edit it. I might come out here and do some harvesting of some things. This is cilantro that I'm letting go to seed. I want to collect the seeds for spices, for coriander. There's another one over there. I did come through. You'll see a lot of these dill are topped. I topped them all and then froze them because I'm not ready for dill yet. My pickles or my cucumbers aren't ready, but I want to have some on deck. So this row is weeded, but that row isn't. I think I'll wait until I pull my garlic to come through and weed that row. I just like to put everything in one of these scallop baskets. Typical Nova Scotia. So yeah, I've got lots of weeds. There's some plantain there. There's some dandelions. This is a self-seeded poppy. This flower bed was full of poppies last year, and none of them came back, but one came here. So it is blooming right now. I love the look of these leeks going to seed. It's kind of Dr. Seuss-ish. I've got tons of runners on these strawberries. So the thought is to start a third strawberry bed. Now I probably won't move these until September, October, just so they have time to be established, but they won't be being moved during the hot days of summer. So today is one of the warmer days we had. I think it's around 25 degrees Celsius here today. But we don't get those hot 100 Fahrenheit days like you do in the US. So all the strawberries. And then I have a volunteer tomato here that I just let go. I did grow tomatoes in this row last year. A volunteer sunflower. See, this one's doing even better than that one I planted. It's a little over 3 feet. So this is my garlic. This is not my best year for garlic. We did have a lot of ice storms. So I do have some bare spots, and some just did not grow as big as I would expect. I will still have lots of garlic. I have no worries there, but it is not my best year for it. So the scapes have all been picked for the most part. I do leave, where's the one I left? Oh, this one I left. And when that goes up straight, that's my indicator that it is time to pull it. You can also go by the dead leaves on the bottom. I think you want the 4 bottom leaves to be turning brown. So yeah, we're about a week, maybe 2 weeks out of picking this garlic. And then this row will become strawberry. And then these 2 rows will become carrots, beets, cabbage. I'll throw some radishes down. I'd like to grow a few turnips just for storage for the winter. So I was coming through here and weeding, but I'm now just going to wait till I pull the garlic to do the rest of the weeding. There's some grass clippings I threw in there. So 3 rows of garlic, and each of these rows are about 25 feet long. Okay, now down at this end, this row starts with leeks. Now I will let a couple of these overwinter. I only did 4 rows of leeks. They probably won't be getting pulled until it's cool, before Christmas, I'd say. But I'll leave a couple and let them go to seed again. And so we'll always have our leek seeds. And I wasn't going to do onions this year, but I did get one box of onion sets. So I think there's 80 or so onions here. And they are starting to bulb up. And none of them have bolted, but probably that's because we've had such a cool spring. But that's where my onions are at. Now, this is a row of tomatoes. My tomatoes are a little bit behind where they normally are this time of year, but I think, again, that's just that cool spring. I think stunted my starts a little bit. Besides these onion sets, almost everything in here is grown from seed that I've started. And I do save a lot of my seeds as well. So I try to do everything as low cost as possible. This is trampoline poles that I stretched fencing against as my trellis. And I just do one row down the middle. These are 3-foot rows of tomatoes. So down here I have some Amish paste tomatoes. So they are starting to get some tomatoes on them. And there are blossoms on them. But yeah, they're just a little bit behind. And then I just use yarn to tie it to the fence. I like using yarn because it's easy to break. I don't have to bring scissors out when I'm dismantling these at the end of the season. And then I have a few beefsteaks here that were really affected, I'd say, by the spring temperatures, because they should be double this size right now. But we get what we get. There's some more dill that I started. That's a Wenzel tomato. You can tell it has the potato leaf. And then these are, oh, I actually left the labels on these ones. We have a Mennonite orange. That's a mortgage lifter. What's this one? These are a couple beefsteak. Yeah, so just a couple different slicer tomatoes. I only grow probably about 6 slicers, and I find that's plenty for us. We like to just eat them fresh. And then I also usually use my slicers to make salsa. I have 3 cherry tomatoes down here. I have a Sweet Million. It's starting to get tomatoes on it. This one over here is Sun Sugar. And then this one is Midnight Snack. These get these really dark purple. I don't know if you can see that. It's so bright out here. And then I have some purple basil down here. I always grow basil with my tomatoes for some reason. I always just put it at the end. I do come here and prune my tomatoes quite a bit. You'll notice all the bottoms are off. I just like to keep a lot of airflow because I do tend to plant them fairly close together. So then the next row here, we have some sweet basil. This basil could be harvested as well. And then this whole row of tomatoes is all San Marzano. This is my favorite tomato to grow for pasta sauce or crushed tomatoes because it doesn't have as much liquid in it. They're actual paste tomatoes. So there are some starting, there are some blossoms. I accidentally put a hole in this weed barrier, so I stuck a sunflower in. I think this is my best sunflower. He's over 4 feet for sure. And then there's some tomatoes starting. So yeah, these are all San Marzano. Then I have 3 zucchini. I had planted a 4th, but it got eaten by slugs very early on. These are just starting to set fruit. One there. I have a whole, there's one there. Oh, this one should have been picked yesterday. I believe this one's Black Beauty. So yeah, that's a fairly good sized zucchini. So I should come through here and do some harvesting today. Now, this row has some parsley at the end. And then I believe this is sugar pie pumpkin. This is just one pumpkin. If you can believe it, it's this big already. It's starting to go over this way as well. And then beside it, I put a watermelon. This had a really hard time starting, and I don't think I'll get any watermelons off it, but it's not hindering anything by being there, so it gets to live. And then the rest of this row, probably about 20 feet of this row, is beans. I put bush beans on the side, and then down the middle I do pole beans. So these are just Kentucky Wonder pole beans. And I do save all my own bean seeds, so there's definitely been some cross-pollination. I see some of these bush type are wanting to travel, so I might just let them go up the fence as well. I don't worry too much. I find beans generally taste pretty similar, so I just let them all kind of pollinate each other and do their thing. Are we getting beans yet? There's lots of flowers. There's lots of little beans. I don't see any beans yet. Once you start picking beans, you're picking beans. So here, that one has a few on it. I find once you start picking beans, I got to come out here every second day and pick beans and cucumbers. So same thing, it's the trampoline poles with the fencing, and I just put them on. Some of these I did wire or tie wraps, whatever I had available. This whole row is golden acre cabbage. I think there's 40 or so in here. So some of these, that one's definitely ready to be picked. It's starting to split. So I should definitely come out and do a cabbage harvest today. I had a hole there, so I just stuck a bush bean in it. But I haven't sprayed these with anything. This is all just grown. You can see there's quite a bit of bug damage on some of them. But I'm not worrying about it. I'll just dig down until I find a good layer. Now up here they grew even better. This one, look, oh, beautiful. Oh, I got my shadow in the way. Beautiful. And step over this pumpkin. There's a female flower I could pollinate. And now this whole row is lettuce and greens. And as you can see, it's too hot. They're starting to bolt. But I've been eating off of these for 2 months. I come out almost every day and harvest them for my lunch. So we've got Grand Rapids, red romaine, we've got a Swiss chard in there, red Russian kale, that doesn't bolt, I don't find. So those can stay, and the Swiss chard can stay. But this is a Grand Rapids, you see how it's putting on. It wants to go to flower. So I'll probably come out here and harvest those today, and I will probably just give them to the chickens. I'll give them a taste test, but I find by the time they're doing this, they're quite bitter. So the chickens will be getting some treats. This one is going to seed, it has seeds on it. So what I think I will do is when I pull these, I'm going to stick some pickling cucumbers in here. I don't know if I'll have time to get fruit before the frost, but I could potentially extend my season as well with them. We'll give it a try. Yeah, this is starting to bolt. Even this Swiss chard is starting to bolt. Wow, I've never had Swiss chard bolt on me before. This is my first year using this weed barrier, and it probably gives a little extra heat, I'd say, which will be good for the tomatoes and everything else, but not so good for the lettuce. So yeah, this was the original hosta. So this was about quadruple this size, and that's what I split up and put all along the edge here. And then over here I just have a blackberry. I just moved this a couple weeks ago. So it's doing okay. I think there's some blooms on it. So we might get a couple blackberries. I actually bought this blackberry because it is thornless. So I'm hoping to expand that to this 4x4 garden. And then I might add 2 more as well. I think I'm going to expand the garden again next year. Don't let the husband know, because we're running out of lawn. We're only on just about over a ½ acre here, so this is a substantial amount of our land. All right, I'm just going to switch over to voiceover here. It was a little hard to hear me over the wind here. So this is my row of beets. Now when I did plant these, some of them didn't come up, so I just had to replant. That's why some of the holes are a little bit empty, but they're coming on pretty good. You can see there are beets forming underneath here. I did have a little bit of a learning curve with using this landscape barrier. I hadn't used it before, so next time I would definitely cut these holes a little bit bigger. Here is our peach tree. Every year I threaten to cut this down because it looks like crap and we hardly ever get any peaches, but this year there are a few peaches on it, although they are a bit small. So we'll see if it gets to survive another year. And the next row over from the beets is my corn. I'd actually given up on corn. I tried it several times with no success, so I gave up on it for about 5 years. And now I tried it again this year, and this seems to be the year for me. So it is putting on its silks right now. You can see them there, and they're not all starting, but they're just starting. And you can see the tops there, the tassels are starting. So I should be about 3 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks out from corn, which would be fantastic. I'm really excited about this crop. And if you come through here, so the front of the row is quite tall. I'm 5'6", so you can see it's all about the same height as me. And then right in the middle here, all of these are very short. I'm not sure why this happened. I don't know if there was just a lack of nutrients in the soil in this little spot, but they're still tasseling, but they just did not grow very high. They're like maybe 3 feet tall. But, oh well, we'll see what we get. I'm very excited to harvest some corn. It is one of my kids' absolute favorites, and who doesn't love corn on the cob, especially with some barbecue. So now this whole row here beside the corn is sorghum. So this particular variety is new to us. We did do sorghum last year, but this is a new variety from Rainbow Seeds as well. And those are the saved seeds from last year, so it is not quite as tall. But last year I made syrup from the stalks, which was really good. We used it just like pancake syrup. And then you can also harvest the grains, and I did end up giving most of the grains just to the chickens. So there is one sunflower there. You're going to see a theme throughout. Wherever I had an empty space, I threw a sunflower in. And then I did have some annual herbs growing in the end here, and they just got eaten off. So I just didn't plant anything else down there. But you can see how full these rows are. Now I made my pathways 18 inches, which is not too bad when there's nothing growing, but then when everything starts to fill in, it gets a little bit cramped coming through here. Now I am noticing there's some yellow leaves on the bottom here. I do have some manure tea. I have brew in there by the front steps, so I'll probably come through here and give these a water with that to give these a burst of nitrogen. These corn just are growing so fast I can't keep up. So here at the end of this row, there's that giant pumpkin again. So I just got to step over this pumpkin because it is crawling everywhere. So the beginning of this row is a little bit more corn. This is the same variety. The variety is peaches and cream. So it's not quite as big as the other corn over there, but I'm sure it'll catch up, and I'm sure we'll still get something off it. And there is the rest of those saved seeds of the sorghum. Now this is going to be growing for at least another, end of July, it'll be all of August and probably most of September. So last year these were almost 8 feet tall, so they still have lots of growing season to go through. Now I just come through here yesterday and I trimmed some of this rhubarb. It was shadowing out, so hopefully the sorghum there will catch up as well. So I have 2 rhubarb here. This I find is plenty for the 5 of us. So I started this from seed probably 5 years ago, and the type is Victoria. I actually started a whole thing of seeds and only one grew. So I planted this one here, and I've got some chives growing underneath there as well. And then what I did was last year I split it in 2 and planted another one here beside it. So I have canned some rhubarb juice and also done some jam, and then I just freeze some as well for muffins and stuff. So this row here is my peppers. This row is not doing very well. Peppers can be a little hit or miss here, especially we had that cold spring. So a lot of these have gotten eaten down to the ground. They've had every pest imaginable on them, and we just haven't had the heat. So at the beginning of the row there is some jalapenos, and then I have some jalapeno, some objarski, and then I also have a couple of bell peppers. Now the bell peppers are probably doing the best, but none of them are really where I would like them to be at this point in the season. There are a few flowers just starting on them, but we'll see if we actually get anything off of them. I might be buying peppers this year to put in my salsa. We'll see how it goes. So this next row here is potatoes. It's just a half row, this one is. So I save my potatoes every year and plant them in the spring. Last year I think I grew around 200 pounds of potatoes, and then I planted maybe 20 pounds of potatoes. I don't remember. I don't think I even weighed them, to be honest. Now this row I found was a little bit spotty. I think some of them didn't come up, but we'll see. I'm sure there's still lots of potatoes under there. And then I did a full row here. This row is about 12 feet long. These ones are coming in much better. As you can see, they are mulched with seaweed. That's one of my favorite mulches to use, especially for potatoes. It really keeps them covered well and does a really good job suppressing weeds. And now in this 12-foot row, I also have down the middle, I have sugar snap peas growing, and I just did the same thing, the trampoline poles and the fencing. Now these peas are about 6 feet tall. The fence is only 4 feet tall, but that should be fine. Now I don't grow enough to actually put up for the year. We just grow enough peas just so we can have some to snack on while we're in the garden, and I'll put them in a few meals over the summer, but I don't really like to spend my time shelling peas. It is not my favorite. Now where these are a sugar snap, you can just eat them pod and all. I do have some dill popping up that I let live here. I figure why not? And when my cucumbers are ready, we'll have another source of dill. I'm actually going to pick some dill today as well, because I'm going to do a potato salad to have with our homemade burgers tonight. Now I've got chives here as well. So I chopped off the tops probably 3 weeks ago, and I just threw them in behind there. They were flowering. So they've grown quite a bit in 3 weeks, and I should be able to do another harvest on these as well. I really do love having fresh chives all summer long. Okay, now if I swing you over this way, we have a little nursery bed here. This is kind of where I have like a little bit of an experimental thing going on here. So I have 8 grape cuttings that I rooted in my basement just on a seedling mat over the springtime. And I planted them out in this bed, but it looks like only one is really leafing out. So I'm thinking the other ones, I was probably too dry because I forgot to water them. I have a tendency to do that. And then on this side of the bed, I just pulled all the weeds and stems that were here. So in here 2 years ago, I planted garlic bulbils. That's what comes on the scapes if you let them go to flower. So I planted them in here with very little expectations of that I would get much out of them, and I haven't dug them up yet, but they're about that size. So that's 2 years of growth. So I don't think it is something I will do again, but I will take the time to dig up this bed and see what our final harvest will be on those. Now this is coming into the perennial section of the garden. Of course, I've got some driftwood there for decorations. This is a ground cherry. This was the only ground cherry from seed that actually survived. I planted it out here, and it has had a hard life. I have stepped on it several times. One of my children accidentally ripped it all the whole way out of the ground. But it keeps coming back, so I'm just going to keep leaving it there and see if we get any fruit on it. Now, there are 3 hascap bushes back here that I purchased. They are getting very large. Our hascaps are done for the year. I was able to make a batch of jam out of them this year, which is delicious. And now that 4th one there is just a cutting off of these bushes. So what I'm doing is just mounding up the dirt all around the bases, and then in the spring I should be able to split some of these bushes and perhaps start a whole nother bed of housecaps. Now I'll swing you around this way again. Now these 3 beds are my beds of shame. This is my asparagus garden. Sometimes I don't know why I keep trying to grow this, but I keep given it a go, and I'm gonna try one more thing I have up my sleeve. So it does get a lot of weed pressure here. I find I can't really mulch my asparagus very well because then the slugs just eat it all before it comes up. So I did have a plan on blow torching the weeds out of here, but it just, our timing was a little bit off. So what I did, we probably got about 3 meals of asparagus out of these beds, so we are getting asparagus. But the rest I left the ferns just to go and do their thing. As you can see, this is a bed that I did clear out the weeds a few days ago. So the weeds are gone out of here. And I'm going to do that same thing to the other 2 beds. And then what I want to do in the fall is I'd like to torch all of it after all the energy has gone into the asparagus roots, and then I would like to top with compost. We'll see how that goes. I'm not ready to give up on it yet. So right here I have 3 blueberry bushes. So this one is 4 years old, and then these 2 are 2 years old. So this one has some beautiful big blueberries on it this year. Not many, but enough that we can get a little sample of it. And then this one never even flowered this year, so we will see if it looks nice and healthy though, and it's put on lots of growth. And you'll see I put these little stone towers around them. It's because I kept stepping on these bushes, which is probably why they had such a hard time in the beginning. Now this is my 4-year-old blueberry bush. The blueberries are not nearly as big on this one. However, it has quite a few blueberries. They haven't started to ripen yet, but I would say within a week or so, I will be harvesting those. So this little garden back here is our memorial garden for our dog Charlie. Now at this time of day, it's just about noon. This is the last of the light this will get for the day. It is in shade all afternoon. So I put some shade-loving perennials back here. This, I was told, is creeping thyme. I'm not sure that it is or not. It is a plant someone gave me. This is just something I picked up from Walmart when they had stuff on like major discount end of season. And I don't even know if I know the name of it. What is it? Winter glut? I don't know. There's probably a better name for that, but we'll see. I don't know even what it will look like, but we'll see. This is a white astilbe. This is a hydrangea that I just bought. Another end of year season clearance. That's a red astilbe, and then another hydrangea. I did have a bleeding heart in here, but it was my fault. I kind of did not take care of it over the winter, and it died over the winter. So I would like to replace that, I believe, soon, because I'd like to have a bleeding heart there for the dog's memorial garden. Now up here I have raspberry canes just going wild. This is a bed I just threw over some canes that were already growing here. They are just starting to ripen. Now, raspberries, this type of raspberry grows on second-year canes, so there is lots of first-year canes in here as well, but you can see there's quite a few raspberries growing throughout here, and I'm hoping I get enough this year for jam. Now, this is all raspberries as well. There are individual beds in here, but I kind of just at one point said, okay, if a raspberry is within this, say, 10 by 10 square, it gets to live, and if it's outside of the square, it gets ripped up. So, as you can see, there's quite a few raspberries here and there, but you do have to hunt for them. And these are a thorn variety, so you definitely should have a pair of gloves on when you are picking, because it is a bit of a scavenger hunt to find where all the raspberries are. As you can, there you can see the beds. So there are beds in there, just there's raspberries growing everywhere. And then on the other side of it, I just mow over whatever gets out of that little area. So there's just another view of the whole garden. Everything's looking pretty green. That's pretty good. So now I will take you down to the squash tunnel. So last year I had a ton of problems with cucumber beetles. I spent all winter coming up with different ways to combat them, have several lines of defense, and I don't know if some of those things worked or if I'm just lucky because I have not seen not even one cucumber beetle this year. So this is my squash and cucumber tunnel. This is an all new area of garden. This is actually where I had my seedling sale because it was so rainy. We just built this out of trampoline poles and some tarp. Then once the seedling sale was over, what I did was I came in through here, I put down horse manure, we had some native soil on top, and then I also had my whatever leftover potting soil I threw on top of here as well. So I haven't picked any cucumbers yet, but these plants are looking very healthy, lots of flowers. There's a couple cucamelons growing through here as well. I should have staked those in some way, but I'm just going to let everything go wild. And there's also another pickling cucumber. National Pickling is the variety. It's putting on lots of growth. This is a soy long cucumber, those two. They're more like an English cucumber. And then I have 3 plants here. 2 are not very big, but the one in front is doing all right. And these are an Armenian cucumber, and they're actually from the melon family. So I'm hoping some of these hot days it will start growing a little bit better. And then back here, what I have going gangbusters is winter squash. So I have, I think, 5 winter squash plants here. I did not label any of them. I believe I have butternut, spaghetti, and one called mashed potatoes, which is a white winter squash, which I haven't actually grown before. And then down at the end here, I have 2 jack-o'-lantern pumpkins at the very end, and then I have a sugar pie pumpkin. At this point, I don't know what vines belong to what plant, so we're just letting them all go nuts, and I'm kind of training them to come outside here and kind of take over this grassy dirt area. But you can see there's quite a few flowers on here. Some male flowers, there's some female flowers, and yeah, I have been coming out and hand pollinating some of them. As you can see, just another view of the garden, the lettuce, the cabbage and everything. And yeah, you can just get a better idea of how everything is laid out. So I've got quite a bit of harvesting to do after this. I want to harvest some of those cabbages. I'll probably in a couple weeks be harvesting this garlic and then be getting my fall crops in. So everything's looking pretty good, and I'm liking where things are. We've had a great amount of rain this growing season, so that is excellent. I have not had to water the garden at all. And now I'll take you over to see my grape. This is my grapevine. This is just growing on the front of our deck. We actually want to replace our deck this year, but now we're going to wait until our grapes are done before I attempt to either move this or take cuttings or both. But this year we are loaded with grapes. Now this is a seedless variety called Somerset. I got about 20 pounds of grapes off of this one vine. This is all just one vine. I got 20 pounds off of this last year, and we probably have double the amount on it this year. Lots of clusters, and these will be harvested towards the end of September. Last year I did jelly and I made juice. This year I think I'm just going to do all juice, because I can always turn juice into jelly later on if I'd like to, or I could even possibly try to make wine out of it, which I think would be really cool. But you can see it's just kind of devoured our deck. This was no bigger than the ones that are started at the beginning of the garden, those cuttings. This was no bigger than that 5 years ago. So, and it has been pruned heavily. But it just keeps growing and expanding. Pretty crazy. So that's the state of my grapes. Okay, it's probably about an hour later. I did decide to do a little wee harvest. So we got some Swiss chard, chives, purple basil, sweet basil. I've grabbed 5 of those cabbages. I'm probably going to be making sauerkraut this weekend. I'm going to try to do a video on that as well. We just do like a home fermented sauerkraut. We have parsley, very first of our green beans. We've got some peas, that big mama zucchini, red Russian kale. I grabbed a sprig of dill because I'm going to put that in my potato salad we're going to have with our burgers tonight. And then just a little bowl full of some raspberries and blueberries. So not too bad of a harvest today. That concludes my July 2025 garden tour. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I'm hoping we have some time for a few of our things to catch up, but overall things are growing wonderfully. I hope you are having a wonderful day and happy gardening. Bye now.